Welcome in. It's Clippers Talk. I'm not going to say a Clippers Talk live again. It's redundant. It's Clippers Talk. We always seem to be live here. Appreciate you guys. I'm Adam Osland. Welcome in. Hopefully, some new people joining. Subscribe and save as I turn off the NFL Red Zone that I just had on my phone. I know it's an NFL Sunday. We're all busy watching NFL games, but I still am doing this 7 days a week. So subscribe, like, and you'll be rewarded with decent to mediocre Clippers content 7 times a week. Even on holidays, even on Christmas, I will be doing a show, a live one, not something I pre-taped and then threw out there. No. We do it live. All right. I'll start it and we'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Want to talk about this Clippers Jazz game coming up on Monday. As I lost my sound there for a second. Why am I having issues here? I want to talk about Clippers versus Jazz on Monday because I think this is a concerning game, a trap type of game for this Clippers team, and I don't want to see it happen. I don't need an Admiral Akbar. It's a trap type of game against the Utah Jazz, who are struggling, who are near the bottom of the Western Conference, not at the very bottom. That would be the New Orleans Pelicans, who have just been through the ringer with injuries going on so far this season. But the Clippers have already beaten the Utah Jazz once, and they beat them pretty soundly in that ball game. I was impressed by their play. I thought that could have been a trap game for the Clippers. So I was somewhat wrong there. Clippers won 116-105. But this Clippers game, it's on Kawhi Leonard bobblehead night. Yeah, I do have some sound here. If you like that laugh, what did you hear, Brian and Ralph Lawler? These are the perks of doing a show right now at work. Had some other stuff to do here, so I thought I'd come in. I also have AI Adam with me.
I'm so lonely. Please help me.
But it's Kawhi bobblehead night tomorrow. And a lot of people are trying to read into that and are wondering if that means Kawhi Leonard's going to be back. Well, the Clippers aren't practicing today. So, with no timeline on his return, and the last we heard was, yes, he did back-to-back practices, but they were non-contact practices last week on Tuesday and Wednesday. I would not expect Kawhi Leonard to be playing tomorrow night, guys. Even though, yes, it's his bobblehead night. Goku said, if Clippers win versus the Jazz, how much do they move up in the standings? Or would they still be in 9th place? It's likely going to be dependent on what other teams do that day. So I couldn't tell you. J-Dog said, Adam, how you doing today, big dog? Hey, dog's in the house. I'm good. I ran 10 miles at the gym. I feel good. I'm trying to stay awake, alert, and I'm powered by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar here. Not that they're a sponsor or anything like that. I just know you guys are aware of my affinity for diet soda, even though I've been trying to drink less of it because, as many people in here have mentioned, it might not be the best thing for you. This Clippers team, though, well, I believe they'll still be waiting for Kawhi Leonard, and the soonest I would guess he could return, this is just a guess, I don't have any inside information, is next Saturday in Game 2 in Dallas. Because after the game tomorrow night, the Clippers have Tuesday and Wednesday off, and then they have 2 games in Dallas, a 2-game mini-series with a day off in between. So they'll be playing them on Thursday, day off on Friday, and then they'll take them on again on Saturday. Could Kawhi be back for that Saturday game? Maybe. Who knows? Maybe he'll be back the Monday game against the Memphis Grizzlies. Maybe it'll be after Christmas. Maybe it'll be in January, as Goku says here. J Dog says 10 miles is crazy. It's not that crazy. I wasn't running at a very high pace. It was like 11-minute miles. J Dog said, I ran a 7-minute mile this morning and walked incline, and another mile woke me right up. Yeah, it's a good way to start the day. I was just on the treadmill watching Red Zone, getting my miles in, still trying to get to 10% body fat before the Clippers season ends. I know it's pathetic because I was trying to get there before the season started. Now I'm talking about getting there before the season ends, but it's an achievement nonetheless if I can pull it off, and I don't think I'm that far away. Maybe I'm at like 13% body fat right now. I've been locking in my diet outside of all the diet sodas, but there's no calories, so it doesn't really hurt my goal there. Goku said, how long is Derrick Jones Jr. out for the Clippers? They need his defense. Well, he still has, I want to say, he was diagnosed as being out for 2 weeks. And did that come in last Wednesday, guys? That diagnosis? That would mean he's going to be out at least till, let me see if I got this right. If it was last Wednesday, that was the 11th. That would mean 2 weeks from then would be the 25th, and that's just when he would be reevaluated. It doesn't mean he'll be back on the 25th. So, and the 25th is Christmas, and they're not playing a game. So maybe he's back earliest the 27th against the Golden State Warriors. And he's kind of on the same timeline with Terrence Mann, because Mann, who got hurt a week earlier with the broken left middle finger, he was given a 3-week timeline before the evaluation or reevaluation of where he's at. And he got injured a week before Derrick Jones Jr. did. So he already was out a week. Then DJ gets the 2-week reevaluation. Terrence Mann's timeline lines up with him. So they'll both be reevaluated around the same time. Maybe the 25th, maybe not on Christmas, but the 26th or the 27th or the 28th, somewhere in there, to see where those two guys are at. So the Clippers will be without them on, let's see, Monday's game, at least the next 4 games. At least the next 4 games without those two guys. Good questions. J-Dog said, realistically, Kawhi's coming back January or February. No. Unless there's a setback, it's not going to be February, my guy. He's already running full speed, apparently, at practice. He's doing everything full speed. He's just going non-contact right now. It's not going to take that long of a ramp up unless there's a setback. You have to have that caveat in there. But it's not going to take till February unless something goes wrong. He's already doing non-contact, but stuff at full speed, scripted offensive 5-on-0 stuff and defensive stuff. He was participating last week, just no contact. Can he get to full contact by the end of next week? I don't know. Is he going to try practicing with contact at some point in the next couple of days? I don't know. I was surprised he did back-to-back days recently. J-Dog, I get it, but you're wrong. He said, I'm just saying February to be on the safe side, just because how they're being cautious with him. Unless there's a setback, it's not going to take till February for Kawhi to come back. Maddox said Kawhi might be back versus the Warriors on the 27th. That seems to be a date a lot of people are looking at. I would not be shocked by that at all. So it just depends on how many hurdles he can clear between now and the next couple of weeks, as I don't know how. Nobody knows exactly when he's going to start doing contact drills again. Kaylee said these recent losses have been tough. Hopefully Utah will be a nice bounce back, though we can't take them lightly. Yeah, there's good reason not to. There's some numbers that I am a little bit concerned about. J-Dog said, I hope not. We need him sooner than later so he can stop ramping up. No, he has to ramp up to get on the court. He has to go through and check all the boxes, and they want him at 100%, and we shall see. If he goes through contact workouts and then the knee doesn't feel okay, then there could be a setback. Hopefully that doesn't happen. We don't know. They're not practicing today. So I texted Law Murray about that. We'll find out more tomorrow from Coach Lou about Kawhi, and maybe they'll give an answer on if he's going to try some contact stuff this week. That would be encouraging. I thought it was big last week that he went through back-to-back days of practices. I thought after he practiced it on Tuesday, then he'd have Wednesday off. But instead, he did the exact same workout routine on Wednesday. So if the knee responds well, and did they give it a shot? Did they give him a little bit more to have to go through? Do they ramp it up a little bit? Keep building, keep progressing. I hope so. I hope that's the case. I want to see Kawhi out there too, guys. And they shouldn't need him tomorrow night against the Utah Jazz, even if he was 100%. I'm not going to underestimate the Jazz, but they are struggling. I'll give you some of the areas that they're struggling in and the reason they're 5-19, and also areas they're starting to turn a corner in that kind of concerned me because it almost feels like they're primed for a breakout victory. They have been losing. They've lost 11 of their last 13 games, or you can go 12 of the last 15 games. It has been tough for them. They have, let's see here. They have lost currently 7 of 8. It's been bad. But when I look at their roster, it doesn't make sense to me. Utah really shouldn't be this bad. Kaylee said, Kawhi is going to be so big for us. I think his gravity will be the biggest game changer. Wow, you think the best player coming back would be big for the Clippers? I tend to agree with you. Mark Jag said, the Jazz have been more competitive lately. Kinda. They also just lost by 40 recently. So I wouldn't go that far. They lost 141-97 in Sacramento. Yes, their most recent game, Sacramento game, was their second to last game. Their last game was against the Phoenix Suns, and they were leading. I think they were up by 7 in the second quarter. They lost 134-126. We'll talk more about that game, but I want to give you the overall numbers with the Utah Jazz and what you have to be concerned about. So they're 23rd offensively. The Clippers currently are 25th. They're worse than the Utah Jazz on offense. It's been a difficult time as of late for the Clippers. Utah's actually 8th offensively in their last 5 games. Something to be concerned about. Their offense has been better. Even in a game where they lost by 40, they're still 8th in offensive rating over their last 5 games. Clippers 21st over that time, so right about what they've been. Utah has the worst defense in the league. They're 30th. They're still bad over the last 5 games there. They're 29th. The Clippers, though, while being 6th defensively on the season, they're 20th in defensive rating over their last 5 games. So some slippage on the defensive end, while the Jazz have been improving on the offensive end. That's a little bit concerning. A strength versus a weakness there. If the Utah Jazz keep playing at a top 10 level on the offensive side and the Clippers are playing near a bottom 10 level on the defensive side, that can make tomorrow night's game much more competitive. Utah's 13th in pace on the season, but the last 5 games, they're 25th. So as they have slowed things down, they've actually been better on the offensive end. Meanwhile, the Clippers in pace on the season, they're 22nd. Clippers have dropped, by the way, and this is a steep fall off and decline. The Clippers have dropped to 10th in rebounding percentage as they are 25th in rebounding percentage the last 5 games, when they were 5 games ago a top 5 rebounding team. After being 25th the last 5 games, they're now 10th in rebounding percentage. Utah is 8th in the last 5 games. And on the season, they're the 4th best rebounding team, and they're 5th in offensive rebounding percentage. So the Utah Jazz are actually pretty strong when it comes to rebounding the basketball. So the Clippers had been the best team when it came to defensive rebounding percentage, defensive rebounding percentage specifically. They are first in that area still. But just like how their overall rebounding percentage is down, defensively, on defensive boards, last 5 games, they're 15th. So there's been major slippage with the Clippers in the rebounding department as of late over their last 5. Now, the Clippers have had different guys in and out of the lineup. They have had guys hurt. They've had James Harden miss a game. They've been without Derrick Jones Jr., Terrence Mann. We talked about them a little bit earlier. I see some concerning trends. I don't like the way things are headed right now for the Clippers. They got to figure some things out here. All right. So the turnover department has also been concerning. Clippers had 19 against Denver just the other night on Friday, and they're turning it over 16.5 times per game. That is 27th in the league. The good news is the Jazz are 30th there at 18.3 per game, which is likely why their defense is so bad overall in the season. They put their defense in some really bad spots. Utah is last in opponent turnovers per game. They're only generating 11.3 on their opponents. They got a bad defense. You'd expect that. The Clippers have a good defense. They're top 10 at generating 15 turnovers per game against the opposition. Clippers are 13th in three-point percentage at 36.9%, and the Jazz are 18th at 35.6%. But Utah does take more threes, about 3 more per game at 37 attempts from the outside. The Clippers at 34. But here's the kicker. The Jazz, one of the reasons they have been better offensively is over the last 3 games, the Utah Jazz are the number 1 three-point shooting team in the league. They have hit 45% of their attempts from distance over the last 3 games. The Clippers over that span, they're shooting 31% from 3. They've been miserable. They were brutal against Denver. Even though they got up about 40, they couldn't hit. So the Jazz are coming in hot from the outside while the Clippers are cold. Things could change. If you look at season three-point percentages, the Clippers are still the better three-point shooting team. But as of late, it's been the Utah Jazz. Now, what are teams doing against the Clippers from 3? They're only shooting 34.4%. Against the Jazz, they're shooting almost 37% from 3. That bodes well for the Clippers. The Jazz are 8th in free throws attempted per game, though, at 23.5. The Clippers are 23rd at 21 free throw attempts per game. Remember, they just went up against the team that gets to the line the most in the Denver Nuggets, and that proved out in that ball game on Friday night. But the Jazz are also good at drawing fouls and getting to the charity stripe. Better than the Clippers there. Clippers are 13th in points in the paint at about 49 per game. The Jazz are just 22nd at 46, but they've been better since Walker Kessler has returned. In fact, over the last couple of weeks, they're at 49 per game, right where the Clippers are on the season. Clippers 11th in opponent points in the paint. So defensively, do they stop people? Yeah, they're pretty good. They're just outside being a top 10 defense when it comes to protecting the paint. They're only giving up 47 points in the paint per game. The Jazz, they're right about the same at 47.8. But the last 3 games for the Utah Jazz, they are not giving up points in the paint. Some of that might be because they just had a game where the Phoenix Suns hit 22 three-pointers against them, so they weren't exactly going for points in the paint against the Utah Jazz. But over the last 3 games, Utah is only giving up 40 points in the paint per game. Utah is 28th in fast break points. They're only getting 13 per game. Over the last 3 games, though, they're getting 20 points in the fast break area per game. In transition, they went from getting about 12.8 per game, not about, exactly that. On the season, to their last 3 games, they are averaging 20 points in transition per game. That's scary too, because the Clippers just gave up 36 points to the Denver Nuggets on Friday night in the fast break. Clippers on the season, they've been solid. They're 13th in fast break points at 15.9. The Jazz, they're coming off that game against the Phoenix Suns, where not only did the Suns hit 22 three-pointers, the Jazz hit 22. The only difference in that game was the Utah Jazz, as they are really bad in the turnover area, worse than the Clippers, actually. They had 15 turnovers. The Suns only had 7. That was the difference in that game. But it was hot shooting from the outside from both teams. They both hit 22 threes. They were both shooting high volume from the outside. And the Jazz just came up short against the Phoenix Suns, 134 to 126. So in that respect, after they had a game where they had just lost 141 to 97 in Sacramento, they kind of bounced back against the Phoenix Suns. They played much better that last game. The Jazz are coming in hot. Not when it comes to the wins and loss record. They've still been rough there, but they are starting to play a little bit better. The process has been better. Keontae George, over the last 5 games, is getting 18 points per game and 6 assists out of Baylor. He's starting to come alive. Walker Kessler, since he came back, he's been big for them. He is shooting 73% from the floor. That is second best in the league when it comes to field goal percentage. He's only behind Daniel Gafford in that area. And Walker Kessler's getting 11 and 11 each and every night while shooting 73% from the floor. One of the curious things for me this season with the Utah Jazz has been Lauri Markkanen. He's averaging 5 less points per game. He's 27. He's in his prime. He's somehow also getting 2 less boards per game. He's shooting 4% less on twos on the season than he was last season. And his 3-point percentage is down about 1.5%. He's had a back injury. He's had a little bit of a knee injury that could account for the decline in his play. But it's been very up and down from their best player in Markkanen. Again, 5 points less per game right now. Still, he's very capable. He's a very good player. There's a reason the Golden State Warriors were talking about giving up, a handful of picks for him and trying to make that move. But he can't be traded now. He signed that new contract. He can't be traded till next summer. John Collins. I know Clipper Nation has had an eye on him for a long time. Long time. And over the last 5 games, he's getting 19 a game while shooting 67% from 3 on 5 attempts per game. Collins has been hot from the outside, guys. They have to pay attention to him. He's a big reason why they've been able to open up the floor and have been playing much better on the offensive end, where, yes, over their last 5 games, they are 8th offensively. Some of that is John Collins. On the season, he's shooting 45% from 3 on 3 attempts per game, or just over that. John Collins is having a nice year. He's in the starting lineup. They're playing big with a front court of him, Markkanen, and Walker Kessler in the starting lineup. That's problematic. That can be scary. There's really no reason, when you look at this team, they should be as bad as they have played so far. That starting lineup, I mentioned those 3. You also got Keontae George and Colin Sexton next to Markkanen, next to Kessler, next to John Collins. That's solid. They shouldn't be this bad. It's similar. It's a similar group to the one that got off to the hot start the last couple of seasons. This time they got off to a cold start. So at some point they likely are going to go on a winning streak at some point here. I just think I like their head coach and Will Hardy. I like a lot of the guys on the roster. They still got Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench. I think if Markkanen finds himself and he can put the back injury behind him, that will change a lot. They're also, the last 5 games, tied for second in blocks per game at 6.6. Colin Sexton is due for a breakout, even though their offense has been good as of late. He's averaging just 13 a game his last 5. There you have it. there's the rough outline. Mark Jag, I do expect Walker Kessler to be playing. He has been playing. He's back. I'll get back to your questions. Alfredo Rodriguez said, so I've been thinking, do the Clippers need a trade at all? Whether or not Leonard is available, should they just ride the entire season out as is? Well, I'm going to play a soundbite from myself here because part of the reason I saved this audio is because people keep talking about trades, and I just want to make one very clear here, especially to this audience. Uh, the Adams family here. This was me on with BJ from the Pull Up Podcast yesterday morning after the Clippers' 22-point loss in Denver. We went through that game. We talked about Kawhi, when he could return, what we've seen from individual play from players like Ivica Zubac lately, from James Harden struggling that bad with his 9 turnovers against Denver, Jordan Miller, KPJ, who we like in the rotation when everybody's healthy. We talked about all that. But he asked me about if the Clippers should make a trade, and I'm going to answer the question that was asked here from Alfredo with audio from myself.
Do you think we need to make a big trade? What you think the Clippers need to do?
I don't think they should make a big trade, and we can transition this into talking about Kawhi Leonard, because to me, before you trade off any valuable assets, whether it's a first-round pick or young players or anyone on this roster outside of Bones and PJ, you got to see how Kawhi looks. You got to see if he can actually stay healthy. Like, how can you say we need to make a move to become a championship team when the guy that makes you a championship team, his health is up in the air? Like, it doesn't matter if you make a big move right now. If Kawhi can't stay healthy, he's the one that's going to put you over the top. I don't care if you bring in Zach LaVine. I don't care if you brought in Jimmy Butler. If Kawhi can't stay healthy, you're not going to win a championship. So wait to see how he looks. Hope you guys were able to hear that clearly. I would definitely recommend that show yesterday. We talked about a myriad of topics, and I love BJ's analysis on the game, and he played ball at a high level. But I'm here to tell you, unless the Clippers can swindle somebody and fleece somebody like they did with the Portland Trail Blazers a couple of years ago to get Norman Powell, I don't think they should be making a move. Outside of, okay, Bones Highland, PJ Tucker, yes, if they're not going to play Bones Highland much, or if he doesn't have a real shot and he didn't play well against Denver in that game until it was late, you look at the box score and it's like, oh, he hit some threes here. Yeah, they all came in garbage time. They were not impactful. Outside of trading those two guys for one guy, just you can open up a roster spot and then convert Jordan Miller's two-way to a standard contract. Outside of that, basically, unless you can fleece a team, I don't see it. I don't see why you'd make a move for a big trade. I don't. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If you're going to make a move to go all in and your title hopes are hinging on the health and status of Kawhi Leonard in his right knee, you have to actually see him out there for a long period of time to see if he can stay healthy. And by the way, he was healthy for 4 months of the season before the knee swelled up last year. He looked great. So I don't know what would be an appropriate amount of time for you to start to feel comfortable again about Kawhi's health and if he can stay on the court. Because last season, everything was fine until it wasn't. So even if you get a month stretch of Kawhi looking amazing and looking like peak Kawhi, like we got last season when he set the all-time efficiency record in NBA history over a 30-game span, when he was almost putting up 57, 50, 90 splits for 30 games, well, even then his knee swelled up and he couldn't stay on the floor when it mattered most in the playoffs. I just don't see the logic of, hey, we need to make a move to be a title contender. Well, the only way you're going to be a title contender in the end is if Kawhi is healthy. So why not wait to see if he can play consistently out there before you even discuss making a big move? And by the way, they might not need to make a huge move. We've been talking about this. It feels like, and Alfredo says it here, the best move I think they've ever made was getting Jeff Van Gundy. Why make more changes? The roster is very solid right now. They are, I think, a Kawhi Leonard away from competing in the Western Conference. Whether or not they could beat Boston, the defending champs, I don't know. That's a lot to ask. But if they get Kawhi back, and he's right, and it's the same Kawhi we saw last season when healthy, they can beat anyone in the West. I believe that. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. If they're playing Denver or OKC or Minnesota or even Dallas, yeah, those would be tough series, especially OKC and Denver. But they have a chance. So why would you even discuss trading away more assets when you only have one first-round pick that's yours at the moment that you could trade? You have young players like Jordan Miller. I don't think you want to trade him, but that's a guy teams might be calling about. Why would you give up young assets when you don't even know if Kawhi can stay healthy? Why would you give up a first-round pick again if you don't know if Kawhi can stay out there on the floor? Because no matter what you get back in that trade, it is still all dependent on whether or not Kawhi can stay healthy to begin with. You're not going to get a player back that at his peak is better than Kawhi. Kawhi is going to be the number one option no matter who you get back in the trade. Clippers don't even have, like, pretty much every team out there could offer more than the Clippers based upon how limited they are with their assets and draft capital. So who are you getting? And why would you make the move before you can see if Kawhi's healthy and can stay healthy? Goku said, I wish Harden can take more range shots, but teams are teaming him. Okay. Yeah. We got to construct that sentence a little bit better. Absent said, Bones, Miller, and KPJ are sharing the floor now. They all need the ball to be effective. None of them are good defenders either. KPJ has moments on defense, but he sometimes gets lost off ball. I agree with that. I don't think they're going to be sharing the ball or sharing the floor. They might not be sharing the ball much either. I don't think they're going to be sharing the floor a ton coming up here. I don't see how Coach Lue keeps putting Bones Highland and KPJ out there when you look at the numbers and they have an offensive rating together on the floor of 95 and a defensive rating of 130. Coach Lue looks at this stuff. There's been a big enough sample size. I hope we don't see much more of it. Mark said the Warriors got Dennis Schroeder. The Nets are definitely trying to capture the flag. We knew that coming into the season. Of course they are. Tom Rain said, good afternoon, Adams family. Mark Jag. Markkinen is like a taller version of Norm. He can't create his own shot. Okay, that's crazy. Markkinen has averaged like 24. He's not a taller version of Norm. He can create his own shot. What are you talking about, man? That's close to a I'm not saying he's the greatest ISO player the game has ever seen or something, but yeah, he was averaging 23 last year, 25 the game before. You can't do that if you're just dependent on everyone else getting you the basketball. That's impossible. When you're that tall, he can create his own shot just by shooting over the top of people. My guy, Mark, what are you talking about? Can somebody help him out, please? He said the Jazz main problem is they can't guard anyone. They have personnel, though, that shouldn't be this bad. They shouldn't be. Alfredo said the West is really deep. Evergreen comment. Absent said tomorrow's game is a must win because the schedule gets tough after that. After the Jazz game, the Clippers face Dallas twice, Memphis, and Golden State. I am aware. I've been bringing that up. Yes, it is a really big game tomorrow. Goku said, I think Clippers should get a sharpshooter. They should get Cam Johnson from Brooklyn. And how are they going to get Cameron Johnson? I'm going to make this point again. Anyone out there can outbid the Clippers if they really want someone. If they want them more than the Clippers, they can get them. They can offer more. They have more to offer a team for a player than the Clippers do. That's the reality of the situation. You may not like it, but it's true. The Clippers are devoid of assets and picks. You bring back Luke Kennard. I love Lukey Dookie, Luke Nukem, but you got to understand the Clippers' identity is defense. You're bringing in a guy that, yes, he's a good shooter. He can't create for himself, but he's going to get picked on the other end. And so, therefore, is he really a net positive? Alfie said, this is the excuse we have been waiting to see what Kawhi looks like. Come on, look at Golden State. They made a move yesterday. Winners make winning moves. Okay. I don't know. I don't know how to help some people. Himothy said, are Bamba and Kai Jones good backups for Zoo in the playoffs with or without Zoo? I don't think Kai's going to be on the playoff roster. I think Bamba is solid enough. They're going to play small ball. They're going to have Batum at the 5. If they have Kawhi, he'll play some 5. Rock said, ideally, I would still look to try and move man for a power forward or expiring with Coffee, needing a new cheaper deal, but you can't bring up the power forward. I'm so tired of this talking point, guys. It's so insufferably exhausting. They've been a top rebounding team. The power forward issue, I don't know. Alfie said, these reporters tell us the team does not need a power forward, but tell me a team that has won a chip without a traditional power forward. Boston! Last year! You think Jason Tatum's a traditional power forward? Y'all don't even watch. Frank said, they look average team on paper, but when Kawhi comes back, they will be a championship contender. I like Jordan Miller. Their defense does not look average. It doesn't. Isaac Okoro has been brought up this season. Maybe. Hey, I'm fine with going after a power forward. Who's the guy? How do you get him? Or is this just the Clippers give up the worst player in the trade and you think everybody else is trying to help them out and they're just giving guys away? Can you give me a realistic power forward that they can get? Tell me what the trade is. I'll grade your trade. Alfredo said, right now, the motive is preventing Thunder from getting a number 1 pick. Clippers have been easily taken advantage of in trades and always come up short upon retrospective. Best keep things in-house. How were the Clippers taken advantage of in the Norman Powell trade? How were they taken advantage of there? The Thunder, the Clippers are not going to be so bad that the OKC Thunder are going to be able to get the number 1 pick. Are you watching? They're 14-12 without Kawhi so far. I don't even know why I go to the chat sometimes. Alfie said, look at Dallas last year. They needed a backup 5 and power forward. Everyone kept saying they needed to move, and guess what? They did exactly that and got PJ Washington and Gafford. Those moves helped them. Yeah, they had assets to do so. And then they lost to a team with a non-traditional power forward badly in the finals. And they had a bunch of matchups go their way. And the Clippers, I fully believe, would have beaten them in the first round if they had Kawhi. How far would they have gotten then? A first-round exit. You can't tell me they weren't fortunate. Kawhi doesn't lose to Dallas. Rock said, comes down to, does anyone realistically think Kawhi in 24-25 with his legs can last for intense basketball? If the answer is no, we need a plan for the next phase. I don't necessarily disagree, but he's on the books for 2 years after this year. So if you have Kawhi and his health, and you hit the lottery with his health, and he actually can stay out there on the court, you have a chance. It's difficult. It's a difficult spot to be in. J-Dog said, call me a casual or whatever you guys want, but I don't think I want Bones playing any more meaningful minutes anymore. He just looks like he hurts the team being out there. Well, they're kind of limited right now with options. They're kind of limited. Are they not? They don't have Derrick Jones Jr. They don't have Terrence Mann. So they kind of have to figure some things out. And that's what Coach Lue is trying. And when you're down 20 in that game in Denver on Friday, I understand why you would try to lean into more offense with Bones and KPJ out there and see if they can provide a spark or Bones can get hot from the outside, because we've seen it happen. It didn't that night, but I don't hate the idea of it because there's some evidence that it's happened before. Coming into that game against Denver, guys, Bones was 10 for his last 20 from three the last two games. I think there's logic and rationale to giving him run in that game. I think that's easily defensible or defendable, that decision. All right. Anybody else want to say teams don't win without a non-traditional power forward and have me yell Boston again? What team has won a chip without a traditional power forward? I don't know. Boston, Golden State. It is not 1999. It is not 2009. The year is 2024, about to be 2025, and the game has changed, and you need more switchability and versatility out there and more shooters, and that's what everybody's looking for. So I'm going to ask the question again. Does anyone have a realistic trade for a power forward that doesn't hamper their offense? Meaning he's got to be able to shoot, because Ivica Zubac is not a shooter. He is a more traditional center, because there's only like 5 centers that are those hybrid unicorn types that can do everything. Zubac is not one of them. That's okay. He's still a good player, but you can't put another guy next to him that can't shoot. Why do you think the PJ Tucker minutes didn't work last year when they tried to him next to Ivica Zubac at the 4? He can't shoot anymore. There was a time it would have been okay, but it's just going to clog up the paint and create a ton of spacing issues on the offensive end. So whatever you're getting on the rebounding side of things with a more traditional 4, if that 4 can't shoot, he's killing them on offense. I will take any suggestions of a guy that can shoot. I mean, I might shoot him down if they're not very good trades, but I'll grade your trade. If you got something for a power forward, no one's saying they don't need a power forward. What we're saying is it's unrealistic that they can get one with the assets they have that fills and checks all the boxes they would need from somebody at the 4, meaning somebody that can rebound, be a defender on the other end, and shoot from the outside. Those guys get paid a lot of money. That's what people are saying. Like, there's some nuance here. It's not that we're all saying they don't need one. We're saying realistically, most every team out there is flawed. I think even the Boston Celtics have some flaws. And hopefully your flaws aren't fatal. The Clippers' flaw might be they don't have a more traditional power forward. Can they overcome it in other ways? Can they excel in all these other ways where it doesn't matter? So far, they have. They've been a top rebounding team. They've been a top defensive team. That power forward talk we got all offseason, it hasn't materialized into being some huge void on this squad that has led to them being 5 games under 500 or something. It hasn't. Their defense has been great. They've been very good rebounding wise. I didn't expect that part. So if you got to trade for a power forward, put it into the chat. And I'm just going to tell you, he's got to fill the criteria of being a shooter, a floor spacer, a guy who can stretch the floor, while also being a good defender and rim protector. So then you can play him at the 5 at times too. That's the power forward they need. Those guys get paid a ton of money. That is the problem. That's kind of the issue here. It's just not as simple as we need this, so go get it. Cool. Every team has needs. Not everyone has the assets or the ability to go out there and fill that checklist I talked about. Good for the Golden State Warriors. They got Dennis Schroeder. Brooklyn's having a sell-off. Cam Johnson would be nice. I'd take Dorian Finney-Smith. How about somebody like that? Like, I don't think Cam Johnson is attainable by the Clippers. And he'd definitely demand their first-round pick. Why would you do that? You're trying to bring in the type of guy. You're giving up the type of assets that are saying you're going all in again if you give up that first-round pick. But why would you do that when you don't even know if your number one player is going to be available? You can't. You can't do that. If there was, I don't know, some basketball god conduits out there that would say, hey, I got a crystal ball and Kawhi Leonard is going to be healthy for the entire playoff run, then you'd say, okay, here we go. That's not the case. And the evidence we have had is that the last 4 years, he hasn't been able to start a playoff series or finish a playoff series, one or the other. He's either been out before they started or has had to leave due to injury. I'm trying to help. I would love that perfect power forward too. But Aaron Gordon is not walking through that door. Bobby Portis's team is playing better, and he's won a championship there. And every other team, like I said earlier, they have more assets. They have more guys and picks that they can give up than the Clippers do for a player. Every team can outbid the Clippers' offer, pretty much. So the Clippers are limited in their war chest of what they have to use. And again, you shouldn't be giving up any future players, young players, and first-round picks at this point because Kawhi hasn't been able to stay healthy. And you do have to think about that next era. I think what they're doing right now is threading the needle and staying competitive while maintaining flexibility. And there is a chance that if Kawhi can stay healthy, that comes back and his knee doesn't swell back up, that they're one of the best teams in the West right away without making any moves. Outside, PJ Bones. I would like to see Jordan Miller and his contract get converted to a standard contract because he can help them now. I think they could use, people talk about power forward. I would like a more reliable backup point guard. I don't think KPJ has been that. I think he's been up and down at best, a roller coaster out there. Bones isn't going to be that. They don't have the trust in him. I would rather just do it by committee between Terrence Mann and Chris Dunn when Kawhi comes back. Those two off the bench can handle on-ball responsibilities. Kevin Porter Jr., I don't know what you're going to get from him possession to possession, and that's not a winning brand of basketball necessarily, especially in the playoffs. Can he continue to improve if they give him more and more opportunities? Yeah. Or this is the player that he is. He wasn't playing winning basketball on a winning team in Houston or in Cleveland. What if it's just his ceiling is lower than people realize because his basketball IQ isn't high enough to turn him into an impactful winning player on a playoff team that is going to need somebody to spell James Harden. So the Clippers do have some issues right now, and it's not just power forward. They have other flaws, and the power forward one hasn't even really materialized as being that big of a flaw at this point. It hasn't. So I don't know. I get where some people are coming from, but again, the Boston Celtics just won without a traditional power forward. Teams have one. All right. This has been your Clippers Talk Live. Clippers taking on the Utah Jazz tomorrow night at Intuit Dome. Tip-off is at 7:30. Pre-game right back here at 6:30. Appreciate you guys. Chat, Adam's family, even Alfie. We'll talk to you guys.